the people close to me. They help the people close to them and then
What's going on, y'all? It's your girl, Jory Davis. We back with another Unguarded podcast. Per usual, no sponsors, nothing, just straight raw. We on the phone with my guy, Mike Fingado. Met Mike just along this entrepreneurship journey. Cool guy. We call him Montana Mike. He wears the best and the coolest hats. I hope to get me one day when I come visit. Still haven't made it out that way, but when I do, I definitely need to get me a hat because I need some of that Montana swag. But what's going on, Mike? Glad that you're here with me for this quick podcast call.
Absolutely, Jory. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I don't have my Montana hat on now. I'm traveling to Seattle in about an hour, and those things are packed away. But I'll definitely have to get you one next time you come out here.
Definitely. So quickly, just tell the people and the players that do tune into the Unguarded podcast, just quickly a little bit about yourself, who you are, your athlete. How did you start your journey as an athlete, and then get into what you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Jory mentioned, Mike Fingado, I was a college athlete at Florida State years and years ago. I was a sprinter and hurdler, and went down there. Was fortunate enough to be on a team that won 3 national championships, and that's actually where I met my business partner, Brian Zingai, who's an Olympian. Fast forward, I ended up getting injured my junior year, and that kind of changed my trajectory on being an athlete and starting to think about what might be next. And that allowed me to create Athletepreneur, which is actually we've been helping athletes invest and start companies. And my Athletepreneur journey started then. I started a tech company with one of my teammates back in 2008. We sold it in 2010 to a Canadian company, and then I moved to Silicon Valley. And fast forward, I've ran at a number of ventures, worked at them, helped people start startups, and then in 2022, actually quit my job at Amazon, where I was working for 5.5 years. To pursue sports full time and launch Athletepreneur both as an agency and consulting firm. I'm an NFLPA certified agent, so representing football players in the NFL, CFL, and UFL. And my day-to-day is managing those relations with teams, coaches, GMs, and then the athletes. But my passion is really, helping athletes figure out what's next and, make the most of their influence on and off the field. Or in your case, court.
Awesome. Yeah. No, great journey. Mike has a wealth of knowledge, of course. Definitely shout out to the players that get to have this guy as their representative and being in the Athletepreneur ecosystem. Definitely doing some cool things. And the team, the wife, most of all, I got to meet her for the first time in Summer League. And I'm like, yo, this Mike has himself a good partner right there. He got a good one. I love it. She's so dope. So it was good to finally meet her as well. But love what you're doing. Love everything that, the whole ecosystem, a suite of things. You have Athlete Plus. We'll get into it, as well as the agency. So yeah, just everything coming to fruition for you.
We may not get to it, but Megan on the mental health piece, she's a mental health therapist. She really enjoyed Summer League, and now she's like, hey, maybe I get into that side of mental health for athletes and helping them. So it definitely needed, and I don't know if we're going to talk about that at all here, but excited to take the conversation wherever it goes.
Yeah, for sure. First, we can start off with a current event, because I just, no expert opinion on insurance or whatever, but I thought it was just a big one, like what's going on, Venus going back to play just so she can get her health insurance. And it's just like, man, what about the misconceptions of protection and health insurance? This is a multimillionaire, her sisters and VC, etc. You have a family that probably is making good money, but yet you went back to play to get health insurance. It's like, what is going on? So that was one current event that it was just like for players in general that aren't on that level. Those of us, especially that play across borders, knowing that insurance and stuff, when I'm in Italy, I can get my teeth cleaned for like $100 compared to paying a monthly premium for dental insurance here in America. But I guess the struggle is real no matter what tier of income you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously she could get private insurance probably, but at least with the NFL and most leagues, you have to play a certain amount of time before you're vested, and then you get the benefits, and then those benefits don't necessarily last for life. So I bet she kind of ran into a position where the benefits she was used to having while she was playing were better than what she's currently paying in the private market for insurance, especially. I don't know how many kids she has, but if you have kids and a family, then obviously health insurance is a big thing. So, but it's wild to see someone have to come back to do that. You've seen it, health insurance is one I haven't heard. I've heard of like, hey, I had a gambling problem and I got to go back and play. I've got a whatever. Like you hear like all the bad things to go back to, but health insurance, like really? Like that should just be a given. Like she put in her time. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if that lies on the association she plays for or just the planning aspect of her situation, but definitely an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do we think it could be kind of a rally cry to the union or the associations, or even, now what is the new, what is it, WIN, or what is the name of the new organization really targeting the tennis players from a union standpoint? Could be something that they're going to start to talk about, of how some of these legends should have longevity, and possibly try to keep their benefits when they've put in so much time playing in the league or on the circuit.
Yeah, I mean, so for those that don't know, Cobra, private insurance, typically after you leave your employer, you can get that for, I think, up to 2 years is the max, but generally about a year. I had it when I left Amazon, and I remember being like, holy crap, I'm paying over $1,000 for health insurance, and I don't have any kids or dependents or anything. And I was like, dang, I had it good with Amazon when they were paying for it. So whether it's athletics or corporate, you don't realize how much of a discount they get when they have a bundle of athletes or a bundle of employers. And then when you're out on your own, all of a sudden you're stuck with that. And I mean, that could be real. So definitely, I feel like the associations need to pick up the tab on that or figure out a way in which it lasts longer. Because, obviously when you have a very long playing career, I would figure that you should be able to vest and your benefits should vest longer based off your playing time. But most leagues have it where you vest at a certain 3.5, 5 years or whatever. And then after that, you get the same benefits as everybody else for the most part. Sure. So I don't, it's wild. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's definitely wild, and so hopefully Venus figures it out for the rest of us that don't have the leverage she has to just be like, I'm coming back to play. There are a lot of people that can't go back and play, so we'll see how that all plays out. Obviously, the hot topic right now is NIL agents, etc. We talked about this a little bit about how it's kind of the Wild Wild West, and we really talked about just different new things coming up. NIL Go, obviously there's platforms that the organizations are using to help athletes with their deals, to process their contracts and manage their money. And again, from my perspective, it was kind of like didn't really make sense, because in my mind, obviously now I'm 36, I'm no longer that 18 to 20 year old in college, so I could have not seen that clearly then. But I'm like, you want to trust the institutions that were in a lawsuit against you to give you a platform to manage your money, give you a platform to take care of your contracts. What is really going on here when it pertains to, the newfound platforms being curated that go through the organizations? Like, who is it really built for is the question.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a great conversation yesterday with another athlete about this exact topic, and it's a fiery one. So, I mean, my opinion is it's Wild Wild West. They wanted some stability, so they went out and got Deloitte, a consulting firm, to say, hey, solve this for us. But as most people may or may not know, consultants aren't solving things. They're here to continue to bill you for hours and then tell you to use their partner of another client they have's product or whatnot. And that's basically what's happening here from what I've seen is Deloitte has basically hired one of their clients to run parts of NIL Go and College Commission and everything else. And it's kind of all intertwined. And I don't know if I trust things that are intertwined that much because you don't actually know who's benefiting the athlete. There's not that separation of state and church in a way. So we'll see. But my opinion is there needs to be a union for these athletes that they can collectively bargain so that there could be standard contracts. It's not the Wild Wild West. And then the biggest piece, which Wevolve is helping with as well, is vetting these agents in a way, since they're not certified. Today, an NIL agent could just be some guy or gal off the street that's getting their marketing degree that happens to have a connection to an athlete, and then that athlete then recommends them. Before you know it, they have a NIL firm. But it doesn't mean they're good at what they do, and does also mean that they're vetted in any way, both from a like background check perspective. Like the NFLPA, I had to go through a background check. I have to have a master's degree or test out. And essentially, there's a vetting process, and that's why there's only 900 or so NFL agents. There's more NIL agents than NFL agents, which is NIL's only been around since 2021, and it's wild. And it's because the money's chasing it, and some guys have great agents and some don't, and I think they could really use some sort of resources to help them. I literally just came from a call, or a breakfast meeting with an athlete here. His name's Banyan. He's a quarterback for Columbia Falls here in Montana. He's going into his junior year. He has colleges looking at him, and his parents sat down with me and said, "Hey, Mike, we're in like ranching and blue collar stuff. Like we don't know anything about anything on NIL, sports, whatever. We just want our kid to be happy, but we want to make sure he's getting the recruiting process that he deserves. And we don't want to sign with an agent or NIL agent that isn't, doesn't know what they're doing or perhaps isn't certified." And I was explaining to them that each college has certain vetting, and some states are easier than others and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know where you want to take the conversation, but I could talk about this one forever. We need to make sure the athletes are represented in a way that helps and protects them. And right now, to your point, the same people that screwed them over for years and years and years are the ones creating the rules. And the checks and balances are themselves. So why would you trust that?
Yeah. I mean, obviously you don't have you don't know every agent in the space just because you're an agent, but it's really like if you had to choose a percentage of how many agents actually deserve a fee, or how many agents are registered compared to who actually are the bulk of really good quality agents doing the business in the right way, what percentage of agents do you think you could say are actually solid amount of options to go and look and interview and see who you want to go with? Just from your experience being in this space, what do you think? Because there's thousands of agents, but there's only a certain percentage that's really worth your time as an athlete.
Yeah, and you'll see. So most of those really good agents end up at big agencies, but I'll also say a lot of bad agents end up at really big agencies too. So I would say the vanity of like, hey, I'm signing with X or Y, and I don't want to call out any specific agency, but some guys and gals will sign with an agency because of the name of it, and they're like, oh yeah, that's a name brand agency, I'm going to sign with them. When in reality, you're signing at an agency that represents 5 or 6 or 10 of the same position as you at the same sport, and you're going to start at the bottom most likely, unless you're like a first round draft pick or something like that, and they're throwing everything at you. So I would say over half the agents, just like anything, like even you think about anybody you've ever worked with or a teammate, and you got 5 gals on a court, I mean 10, 15 on a team, they're all good teammates, but they may not be good for you and your system. I would say treating an agent the same way, like, just because they're on your team doesn't mean they're good for you in a way. So the vetting process, I would say, I found this the hard way. Like I wouldn't say hard way, surprising way. I asked probably 100 athletes that have agents currently with larger agencies, hey, how'd you find your agent? Or maybe they have a smaller boutique agency. And 99, no joke, like 99% of them, I signed with the first one I talked to. I was like, what do you mean you signed like, did you talk to a second, a third, a fourth? No. I liked what they had to say, and that was good. Or I got a referral from a friend, and I'm good with it. It's good enough. And it became I just want an agent just to have an agent versus have an agent or partner in this that's right for you in the situation. So don't get caught up in the, like, I need an agent just to have an agent. Take your time and find an agent that works for you. And, that's a benefit. But what are you guys building at WeEvolve? Tell me more about that, like in regards to how it's going to help, vet these agencies and solve this. I'd love to hear more about that.
I mean, truthfully, I think, again, the reason we started WeEvolve was truthfully my pain point of not being able to get to the right people that had the insight into working with these individuals when I was trying to make that decision. For me, my side, that's still the same. 99% of the women I talked to got their first agent from the coach.
Yep.
Which is similar to same. The first person they got in front of them, they kind of went with. Players are kind of talking, but usually they talk and they go with the one the coach or somebody in the space put them in front of, and then usually you see them leave. It literally needs to be tracked, which is what we're trying to do. How do we start tracking it? That's the key thing. How do we track it and put some metrics to see players have gone with this agent and then end up leaving, and what's that look like? But I think, what we're trying to do is, one, track that. Let's create statistics on agents. Let's see their track record. But then on top of that, how do we bring insights into these agents closer? How do we just have everything in one place? Do you have a freaking LinkedIn? Where's your website? Who do you actually represent? That stuff is so fragmented. I mean, the FIFA website is still down. It's been down since last year. You cannot go see who's FIFA certified. We were trying to, do our part as we evolve. And I'm like, so you're telling me we're actively checking what is a young athlete in FIFA? Agents are signing them at 14 from places like Africa and South America. What are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do at Wevolve, consolidate this and put some real data behind these agent profiles.
Yeah. A lot of clients I talked to, they didn't even know that you could search for agents on the NFLPA website. They're like, oh, I didn't even know that, Mike. And I was like, yeah, that's how you see if they're certified. They're like, oh. And I've had one case of a client that came to me because their agent wasn't certified. They went on that site. They're like, oh, Mike, he told me he was. Clearly he's not. And in that case, the agency's license had lapsed, which is something to look out for too. Like, just because they are an agent and are certified doesn't mean that they are up on their dues and up on their certification, because a lot of leagues, they can let it lapse for a number of reasons. Either they've had a hardship filed against them for some reason or another from another client and they're kind of suspended, or they don't have enough clients to stay active, or they didn't pay their dues. Rock Nation had this happen actually. One of their main agents, this is years ago, but essentially just had a bunch of players, but they let their license lapse, and the NFLPA came out and it's like, no, you can't let that happen. Like you need to make sure that you're paying your dues and doing stuff. And that's like a large, they're not a huge agency, but I mean, Jay-Z's like can't be letting his people not.
Exactly. What do you think about that? You do have agents that are part of bigger agencies, or are part of a network of agents under agency umbrella. And usually they're saying, oh, don't worry, our agent has someone who's certified. What do you think about that? I mean, I do get it. Like, you could be a runner for an agency, you work for an agency, and someone in that agency, the lawyer or someone, has the certification and their name goes on your contract. Again, it's still not your dedicated person. So what do you tell an athlete in that regard? That's like, oh, but they said someone in the agency certified.
Yeah, no, that standard representation agreement, or it's called SRA for most leagues and stuff. That person that signs that, and you're agreeing to, hey, this person's going to get X percentage for doing XYZ services. A lot of times, like you're saying, you'll sign with an agency, and that name that's actually on your contract is different than the person that maybe sold you or that you liked at the agency that said like, hey, I'm going to be your guy or gal. So that's an important distinction, because a lot of these leagues won't even allow anybody but that person to talk to them about that athlete. So I'll get some athletes to come to me like, hey, Mike, I feel like my agent's just not doing his job. He's like not talking to the teams, or like, I just know he could be doing more. In some cases, maybe they could be, some cases they can't. But in a lot of cases, that could be the actual issue, is the guy or gal you think is representing you isn't the one that can actually talk to the teams. And so, if I go talk to a GM at, the Denver Broncos or up in the CFL, perhaps Toronto Argonauts, the first thing they're going to ask is like, hey, are you certified? If they haven't talked to me before. At this point, most of them would know who that you are and their agent, if they're not like a rookie agent per se. But that's a very important distinction, like who is actually on the legal document as representing you. And knowing that you can break up with them. A lot of people don't realize this. Like, they don't realize
break up with them though, Mike.
They're not going to tell you. I send every single client or potential client, it's a prospective questionnaire. I don't want them to answer the questionnaire. The answer's already there. It's what you should be looking for in an agent. And I share it with them, and a lot of them are like, oh, wow. Like, why would you share this to me? And I'm like, because I want you to ask really good questions. I'm comfortable and happy to answer them. But I want you, if you go talk to somebody else, to ask the same questions, because I know they're hard questions to answer. And some agents will just brush over them and be like, oh, wait, I don't want to work with you. You're asking me too many questions about my job. Exactly. So I kind of use it there. But it's information. It informs them. And it helps them be better at finding their agent. The issue is most athletes aren't going to go interview 5 or 6 agents. They stop at 1 or 2. And I wish they would, or at least started with a couple good ones to start, which I think is what your platform would help. So,
and again, that's what we're trying to do, automate, where they can just go on and see that agent answering those. Of course, the forward thinking agents that are, hey, I'm going to go on Wevolve and promote myself, and have my video on Wevolve ready, which shows that I am a transparent quality agent. And so again, we're getting to that point, but I think also there's an element of agents. What do agents do? There is the thing where, obviously some agents come and say, what is Wevolve doing? This transparency, you're going to have me lose clients. From your perspective, do you think Wevolve really could never, from my perspective, I could never replace your value. Mm-hmm. What you do as an agent is valuable if you're doing it in the right way. So break down the elements that a quality agent does compared to just a transactional agent, which some of us as athletes think that's all you're doing. Like, oh, you found me the job, now you did the contract, and now we're done.
Yep.
Talk about the valuable agents and what a quality agent is doing on the day-to-day to differentiate between what we traditionally think as athletes sometimes and not knowing what you all doing. So we're like, replace them all with technology.
Yeah. So I would say the most valuable agents are able to help extend your career. They're always creating opportunities and keeping doors open. So I'd say that's the one piece. Just because you're on a team and you have a 3-year contract doesn't mean that your agent's doing they shouldn't be doing nothing for 3 years just because they like, oh, I did that. Some agents will. Like some agents just you won't hear from them at all because they're like, oh, well, everything's going well. Jory's healthy. She's doing well on the team. She's got another year. Maybe we'll talk in a year from now when there's an extension and then we're done. If you're a rookie in some sport, that's where an agent's very valuable because I think to some extent they can help you with that whole process, especially in football. And to an extent to basketball as well, leading all the way up to the draft, your pre-draft workouts. Some agents, this is somewhat of a trap, but also good and bad. Some agents will pay for training and help for that process for the higher prospects. They will treat it as a loan, but some athletes don't see it as a loan and they're just like, oh, I'm not going to pay that guy back if this doesn't work out. So like getting into that, once there's money involved, I would say that's the first thing. Figure out like, is this an agent that is going to put time and money towards me? If so, how much? And also, and I mean, time is just as important as the money side. And then from there, how does this potentially affect my opportunities? And then once you get those opportunities, how do you keep them? Because you can get cut. I mean, you get injured, whatever, traded, all those things. And when things get hard, that's where you want your agent. You want an agent that can help you through the hard times, not just the good times. So I think that's the important piece. How you identify whether they're a good agent, that is it's not quite a science yet. Like it's really hard to define what a good agent is. Most clients want an agent because they feel they don't have the network to open the doors they need to. Most unions and leagues want the players to have an agent so that there's a singular person to talk to. And so they don't have to negotiate with somebody that they're going to be, basically employing. Right. Where college has gotten interesting is you have agents that aren't agents that are the in-between person talking to coaches and teams. And now the teams are hiring GMs so that there's a separation between the coaches and the university. But still, now you have a GM, a role that's never existed really in college. That person maybe came from pro sports, maybe didn't, maybe was a former alumni. They're coming up and then they're talking to the players and it's like, is this guy an agent, not an agent? Like you just don't know. It becomes just a money thing, I feel like, at the college level. And honestly, at the pro level, it is too. But at the pro level, the contracts are pretty standardized. You know what you're going to make. It's all about your just incentives and making sure you're getting you and I talked about one time, making sure that your flight maybe is a first class flight because you're 7 foot tall and that makes sense. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it could be, or that your family gets tickets or like little things that like they may not put in everybody's contract. We signed a UFL guy yesterday. And he's played in the league for 2 years, played for the Saints for a bit as well in the NFL. And his biggest thing is like, hey, Mike, I want to get back to the NFL, but there's also certain things that UFL doesn't have in their contracts that the NFL had. And he's just like, hey, next time we talk, can I make sure I get XYZ involved in it? Whether it's incentives or whatnot, because, he's scoring touchdowns now and he's like, hey, I want to be compensated for such. But it's a good agent, I think, is one that you can have honest, open conversations with and say, hey, here's what I'm not getting. How do we get it? And then your agent should have answers to that. And if they don't, and they just go quiet and they don't answer your questions, that's a red flag as well. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned in this industry is like, so about 30% of our clients are people that came to us and switched over from previous agents. And the most common theme I get is, I don't think my agent's doing what they're supposed to be doing, but they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. So that's the other part. You don't know if you don't know what they're supposed to be doing, how can you say they're not doing their job? Yeah. And then the other part is I just haven't heard from my agent. And some agents don't follow up because there's no news, but after a while that gets kind of old. Like at least connect with me as a person. Like, hey, how are you doing? How's your family? How's travel? How's your mind? Where are you? Is everything right? Things like that too. So it just kind of depends what you're looking for. But it's I would say the red flags are if you haven't heard from them in a while, if they won't give you a referral, like, hey, can I talk to so-and-so on your client list? I just want to get their feedback. If they're like, nah, they're busy, I'm not gonna, and they don't connect you to somebody, like you got to talk to somebody that they're representing. And honestly, the agent should want you to, because that's their best way to get new clients is having a current client that's having a great experience. Talk about it. Why would you be afraid of that? Yeah. So.
Yeah. I think for me, I've thought about this, like, okay, Jory, if you would have had to become an agent today, really what would I want to be able to offer my clients? And I think, again, you need to know the teams. You need to be able to actually have the network to those individuals. But one thing I believe that what makes the agent job so hard is the time commitment of you have to be able to work different rooms to be able to open different types of doors for your clients. Yep. And I know some agents say, well, my job is to, if you look at any of the agents I've interviewed, my job is to find a team, get a contract. That's technically what's in the contract. Now, I'm not going to name those agents, but also it's like in this day and age, that's outdated. Because if you're a boutique agent and that's all you do, and you want a Power 5 girl to come and work with your agency, what you just said right there doesn't qualify you for this new age and new era athlete. You have to be able to help them get some basic brand deals. And now some agents are outdated, right? Because now I'm hearing, Jory, you could be doing some brand deals. And because in my mind, my agent's like, well, Jory, that's only for those that have 10,000 followers, etc. And it's like, well, actually, no. The more that I'm doing the work and networking with people, I'm finding there are some opportunities. Or could you be getting me speaking or doing little things that we're doing for ourselves, obviously, through Evolve, building that network. But it's like, what's the new gen agent role with how players have evolved? We're not Babe Ruth no more. I said it in the pitch. The agent role was outdated since Babe Ruth, and now we're dealing with Serena Williams. The agent hasn't evolved since then.
Yeah, the agent's role, those other agents aren't wrong in that, like, technically our legal obligation is contract negotiation, and that's it. And then maybe you have a side marketing contract where you're obligated to help them get in. About half our clients have marketing agreements with us. The other half, I wait till they're more marketable, and I say, hey, you're going to have more negotiation leverage with me or whoever you want to go with once you're marketable and on a team and all that kind of stuff. So it can go both ways. But yeah, the new agent, one needs to be savvy with content. I feel like most of the athletes coming up are influencers, whether they like it or not. They have an audience and they can monetize that audience, and they should be monetizing that. And that audience continues to grow as their career grows. But once the career ends, how do you continue to engage that audience? And if you've taken time to build it up, whether it's through social media or otherwise, now you can keep some of those brand partners that supported you through your athletic career, because now it's still relevant, because they're like, oh, Jory's still got an audience that's still relevant to us. It doesn't matter. You're still on the court, but like, it doesn't matter, someone retires. If you still have that audience, you'll still have an opportunity to monetize it and grow. And then some athletes find that that's fun. That's why they go into, TV, being an analyst, starting their own podcast, whatever it may be. And some of the most successful personalities are former athletes because they had that following, they took that following, and they grew it. Now, the agent's responsibility, I think, in that is identifying which athletes are a little more entrepreneurial or want to be more of an influencer or to have opinions on things. Like athletes that have opinions and are willing to share them are kind of controversial, but I love it. Like they should want to share these things and talk about it, because oftentimes, the shut up and dribble comment, whatever news agency made years ago, like that's so outdated. And it's like, no, an athlete is more than just an athlete, and they should be. And just because you're dabbling in other things to help build your brand or your ecosystem and your fandom doesn't mean you're any less of an athlete or focused. It's actually, you're just being business savvy about it.
Correct.
Yeah. So it would be like if I worked at Amazon and I took all that money and I literally just paid my bills and didn't put the money anywhere to work for me. Like why make good money and not put it to work to help make it. So you built these resources to help you, whether that's fandom or whatever it may be. You need to put those to work. And the agents should be helping open those doors and opportunities. And you as an athlete can't be at all those doors and all those meetings and all those places. So the agent should be, continuing to grow both their brand and, their network so they can help their athletes. And they never know what doors are open. And you being you were recently a panelist in Vegas at a conference we were at Athletes Abroad. And that's helpful to, one, you're inspiring other people up there telling you your story of being an athlete and your story of being entrepreneurial. And two, there may be somebody you meet at those events that now is like, hey, Joy, I want to help you and plug you in. And now that's helpful to you as an athlete or the other athletes you may help. So definitely the agent should be out there working both your name and brand, especially when you're not on the field, off-season time, or perhaps you're between teams. That's your time to kind of dabble and get opportunities elsewhere. You can go on my social, but Cardell Thomas, he's launching Bayou Bison, former 5-star recruit, played at LSU, won a national championship, played at Colorado, but he's found farming as his passion. And so he's trying to bring bison back to Louisiana. And I think that's really fun and invigorating for him. Is he still training and kicking ass and trying to make a team? Absolutely. But he's been able to find that passion. And me as an agent, I knew that right away. And I was like, hey, regardless, Cardell, I'm going to try to get you on a team and make sure you're filming everything's in front of the right people. That's agent job number one. My secondary job of our agency is to make sure you're successful off the field as well, at least getting opportunities to continue to grow your following or monetize your following, which is what he's doing with the Bayou Bison. So the new age agent needs to be doing it all. And I would argue the more nimble boutique agencies are able to do that more so than these large conglomerates that maybe they have the resources, but they don't necessarily have the savviness to be mobile.
Got it. With everything, let's go back quickly to everything your wife does. And players now, NIL, even high school, even now with social media, just take away not being an athlete, but a young adult dealing with the pressures of social media. Even I'm sure we have to check ourselves sometimes to be like, don't get stressed over social media and comparison and all of that. But now they're growing up as athletes with social media, seeing everybody get brand deals, trying to navigate who can I trust, and probably some are going to get done dirty, which we already know is happening. The trust issues, that's a traumatic thing, which again, your wife's not here to let us know, but I'm pretty sure, again, when someone breaks your trust or lies to you and does you dirty, which causes you to fail, that's trauma. On top of trying to just grow as a human because you're young, still evolving, and then now you're going against a huge organization, some of these Power 5 schools who really are looking at you as like, hey, this is a young adult, let's help them. They're looking at it like, how can we get over on this young adult to get their talent for the least amount of money as possible. Talk about all of that as an athlete now in this new age, as well as the trust issues, which I think us as athletes at our age, I've evaluated that the trust issues run deep just because of always finding out that someone did this or someone was this. From the mental health perspective or mentality training perspective, they're changing how we talk about it. What have you and your wife really been discussing on, again, why her services will be so needed in this space, just because it's a lot to manage? And then on top of, parents sometimes are not really your true allies either. Sometimes even the people in your own home are putting pressure to live vicariously through you or look at you as a meal ticket, which we know could never happen. Even if you do get that million, you can't take care of a full village of people from your community.
There's probably a word for it, but that kind of that village or community mentality of when somebody elevates outside of that and people attach to it and want to follow, and you feel the responsibility to want to support your community still, your best high school buddy or whatever it may be, and kind of, plug them in where needed, be like, oh yeah, you can be my PR person, you can be whatever. It mentally, that's hard because now you feel like you're letting your family and friends kind of down when you close them out. But the reality is you're growing your career and your opportunities, and you need to be protective of that. And you don't want somebody on your team or somebody that is associated with your team saying something, doing something that may, garnish your image. So you should be very protective. I've met many, especially college kids that are going to the pro level. Hey, Mike, let's jump on a call. I get on the Zoom. There's like 8 people on the call. I'm like, all right, let's spend an hour doing intros. I'm like, who are these people? And it's, this is my cousin, Joe. He does my PR. He's got an economics major from wherever, community college or whatever it may be. Like it's probably smart. I don't know, but I have to like start to be like, okay, cool. And you got 2 people that do the same thing. I'm like, well, what are your guys' jobs? How do you guys differ? And they don't have an answer for it. I'm like, okay, we need to get at least rid of one of them, or at least figure out how they're not, doubling down on the same thing. So that mental aspect of feeling like you have to help, I think is something athletes, it's get rid of that sooner than later. I know it's like a hard process, especially when it's family, because you want to support the people that supported you the most to get to where you are. I totally understand that. And like since you were in middle school, someone was at all your games and it's your coach and stuff, of course you're going to trust them when they say, hey, go use this agent, because you'd be like, oh, they must be right. They've supported me up until now and it's worked. But that fresh slate, I think, is really important. Hard for someone to do, but really important. And the mental health aspect of that, of having, whether it's a therapist or somebody to talk about that, like, hey, I don't want to cut my family out, but also at the same time, I feel like I need to make this more of a business versus a family operation is very important. Therapy, I think, whether you're using an app and, just getting your head right, or you're going to visit an actual certified therapist, which I recommend, like, is very helpful both, before game day, but also just in life. Like, there's so much being thrown at these kids at such a young age now, that like they need that. They need somebody that isn't their parents or somebody that's not a sibling or something, telling them, hey, here's how the world operates, and here's how to best organize your thoughts and make sure that your head's right. So yeah, very, very important.
No,
social media is a whole nother thing too.
Yeah, big advocate for getting real help. Better help and stuff is all cool, but I think finding someone you trust is needed. And again, speaking from someone that deals with breaking down the layers of trust issues for myself, it is tough because you can see it in a lot of their eyes. Being at All-Star and being around some of these new NIL players that have money, so they're at WNBA All-Star, and I'm like, what are y'all doing here? Like, I was not flying out from my schools to come with meet y'all at WNBA All-Star. Like, oh, y'all got money. Like, we didn't even have money we were trying to figure out, am I gonna catch the bus or the Greyhound to get home for Christmas? So it's like, but you can see it in their eyes that they're like looking in the rooms and they're like, who is this? And let me just stay in my lane because I can't trust everybody. And it's just like, what a way. I know that's not a way to walk through life, but I also know people are something else. Every day I'm with Julie, like, gosh, people are something else, and it's that tug of war. And if you don't have the tools to work through that, to really understand where that trust is coming from, what has happened, to digest that and get over it, it's not a way you want to move forward, especially not if you're starting that out at a very young age. And so I do think there's just so much work to be done, and also creating safe spaces for athletes to collectively be able to talk, and not be in isolation with our own management teams, and we're not talking to each other because we're all going through the same thing. They're going through a different thing. So
you'll see
of everyone in that space trying to do the work.
Yeah, you'll see even the unions. You'll see unions put out like a press release on behalf of the athletes, and it's like, there was one person from each team that got input that they have so like in football, 32 athletes decided what 1800s athletes, opinions are. And I get kind of why they do it that way, that you can't get all the opinions of the athletes, but to your point, there should be smaller groups that have have a voice, and then share that, more broadly. And some athletes, like I said, are more vocal than others, but that trust, you don't want to like not trust anybody, because that's, to your point, that sucks going through life that way. And it's like running a startup. You get very lonely really quickly when you don't trust anybody, or think everyone's going to steal your idea, or think everything is, you've been overpromised so much and nothing's happened, that, it's easy to be jaded in that regard. So yeah, that trust piece, I would say start with the mentor, like somebody that doesn't have skin in the game. Like, find someone that maybe was where you are a couple years ahead of you, or whatever it may be, and find trust in that person, because they can clear through the noise for you because they've been there, versus somebody that comes in and says, here's why I'm the best at what I do, blah, blah, you should trust me. Because there's really good salespeople out there that are agents or work for marketing agencies and stuff, and they can sell you the dream, and then you're like in it, but then you realize quickly you don't trust them. And then the other part is when you don't have trust, or trust you get taken advantage of, definitely learn from it. I've talked to too many athletes that have been like, oh yeah, but I had this NIL deal, like the terms were wrong, and I kind of got screwed in that one. Or family, my dad took $40K and I didn't realize that was missing from my account, but it's okay, he's my dad. I'm like, no, like if that were any other case, he'd be in jail. Like, like if that was like a business, like he stole from you. Like, I know it's family, but like you need to be a little bit more methodical about like, hey, that was like a real issue. Learn from it. Don't let it happen again. Yeah, forgive him if you want to forgive him or her or whatever it may be. But you can't just like gloss over these things. Like, no, that's actually a really big deal that happened to you. And that could be seated in, something deeper and why you feel like you owe them or it's not a big deal. But yeah, I just wish the athletes of today had better mentors. Not to say that the current mentors aren't out there, that they actually had a platform to seek that earlier. Because when you're even in middle school, and now kids are getting paid middle school and high school and stuff, you're just looking around and you're trying to level up based off what you see on social media of everybody else. But you don't really have somebody actually protecting you. And the parents aren't really the best people to be doing it anyways, because most of them aren't former pro athletes that know the lay of the land. And even if they were, the lay of the land has changed so much since they were athletes, it may not be relevant. Different. So yeah.
Everything is always evolving, which means education and the resources needed must evolve. You've obviously built tech platforms. You're in the tech space as well, not just an agent. And again, we'll chat about Athlete Plus, which I think is a super dope idea. Really excited to continue to figure out how we can help. Maybe first of all, me and Julie getting on there. That would be the first step.
The cards will be coming your way soon. Yeah.
But you've built tech platforms, of course, and the thing is, which we talked about this before, can these newfound athlete platforms really serve both sides? Some of them go through the organizations, but they're pitching there for the athletes. And so it's like, what's happening on the back end? And can a platform that's going through the organizations and doing the deal for the organization serve both sides? Is that really a thing? Or at the end of the day, if they chose one model, ultimately they're building and serving the one side.
Yeah, I look at it as like the NCAA has the resources to build useful tools. Will they be the best to build it? Probably not. I mean, it's like when I was in high school, the principal was the basketball coach. I don't know if he's a really good principal or a really good basketball coach or just someone that likes to work at a school. But my point is, the school could probably hire a better basketball coach or a better principal, one or the other. Like that, you don't necessarily want I'm getting disciplined by the person that's my coach. So it's like, I'm going to get less. So it's like, do I trust that whole system when it's the same person that I'm reporting to for everything? And the NCAA is kind of that same way. And I think they're trying to create separation, but I'm seeing it as they're just aligning with corporations that have big pockets, that have fed them before and protected them before. And it's still not an ecosystem that's equal for the athletes in any way. And people think that just because, okay, they're settling and they're paying the athletes now, it's all good and dandy, but they dictated how much they pay the athletes. They dictated how they pay the athletes. They dictated how you report your NIL deals. They literally made all the rules. They're like, it's self-governance. Like they literally came in and basically made it seem like somebody told them what to do, but really they lost the lawsuit and said, you have to do something you're going to do anyways. And I'm sure they've been planning for 10 years of what that's going to be, even though they seem like they're scattered. But yeah, I don't see a world in which, that protection is going to come from those that are hiring you, even though the NCAA will say you're not an employee. But
correct. I mean,
or even groups. I assume you're talking about groups too. Were you kind of talking about like a pack or TPI or whatever? These groups are built in. They're here to support you as an athlete. But what's the actual? They got to make money. There's a business model there.
Yeah. So again, it's that thing. You can on the front end say you're for athletes, but if it's free and there's something that you don't have to pay up front, that means something's being monetized on the back end. Yep. And that back end is where it's fine, but athletes need to better understand now, or consumers in general, free up front means something on the back end is being monetized.
Data.
And so for me, we understand that data is valuable. The same as we evolve. The same as we evolve. Like we know that data is valuable and it helps our company. Now it goes back to who's on the cap table, who's the leader of these companies, and what's their long-term vision to be able to share in that monetization. With blockchain, we know there's a way to share in the monetization of data with our users and our customers. Is every other founder and every other leader of these athlete advocacy platforms thinking that way? Who's on their cap table? That'll give you an idea too. If it's a capitalist, trust me, they're not thinking about, yeah, let's find a way to share in our revenue with the athletes because what they gave us is valuable. So I think talk a little bit about that. Like NIL is one thing, but maybe, NIL was, a little smoke, but data is like the fire. That's the war. And that's another step that no one ever really talks about in general with these platforms of what's being monetized on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a real life example. The NCAA does it, high school does it, and the pros do it. There's a company called Huddle. They do video analytics, and they know how fast you're running, what your plays are, all that kind of stuff. I would argue that that's proprietary. Like if you're tracking and putting either a physical device on me or using AI to track my moves to then better play against me, and then they go monetize it because they're selling how I play to the competing teams, it's their right to do it, I guess. But like that's my data. Like I should have to opt in for you to be able to use my data, just like I have to opt into a video game for you to use how I play and score me. It seems like the same thing. But these companies like Huddle, which I love Huddle, they're a great platform, but it seems like they're using data that somebody else told them they could use. Or they're using it in a way they found a loophole where they're like, I can get this data without having to subscribe to it over here. But the athletes weren't involved in that conversation. At best, maybe Players Inc. and the NFLPA was part of that. And then they like have a group licensing and they're like, oh yeah, our athletes will opt in because the unions opted in. But it's like back to my point about maybe only 32 athletes got to have that conversation. It's not the whole arc.
Exactly.
The whole arc.
And
so,
who's getting paid? Who's getting the money? And above all, which has been Weave's pitch when I go and have a conversation with Huddle to say, hey, can you just give athletes their data to use a platform to create something that data helps them to measure market value, that data helps them to match against salaries, and you're like, oh well, give me $10,000 a month. So you're monetizing my data because I'm in all of those platforms, Genius, Huddle. But yet when I say, you know what, let's create a partnership where at least give it to me so I can create solutions to help myself.
Yeah, you just want your data too. You're not like, I want all the, basketball.
Exactly.
I just want my own
that's
data.
The part, That's the part where I'm kind of like, that's kind of bullshit now. Because not only are you going a back end way of getting licensing through the leagues and paying them for the data, and sometimes they're not even paying. Truthfully, they are giving the technology to the leagues for free. And the leagues just happy they have technology to do whatever, and not even also seeing that is also giving them leverage as a company. And so I think it's something that, again, I always say the NIL case was one, but the data war is worth much more, because data in purple algorithms is going to live forever. If you say 10,000 athletes say remove that data, that messes up a huge algorithm from sports betting, from everything. Research, everything. And that's the thing that I feel like, okay, who's willing to go and fight that war?
No, it's very, very interesting who owns your data. I mean, even from a perspective of like a search engine or Netflix, when I'm watching stuff, like all that data is used to help make their programs better, and you opt into that when you're doing the terms of service. But in sports, you should at least be able to, and most tech, like if I ask Google or Spotify for my data, like there's a records request you can do from Apple or whatever it may be, they have to provide it to you. There is like legislation that does that. But I don't know, maybe we should test it with Huddle. Maybe we should do a formal request of your data.
Yeah. Well, I've tested it with Eurobasket, and I think we've told you about Red Card Project before. Yeah. That they're on the verge in the UK to really win a huge case where they're gonna win. Similar case to NIL would happen. That it's right, and when it pertains to sports betting and Genius and Huddle and all these platforms, technically they didn't go through the process the right way where I opted in. Did I sign a contract with a team that probably had the league clause in there with something, but technically based on GDPR, which is different than the states. The states' data
Yep.
rights is not as lenient, but is more lenient. But GDPR is more strict. And we tried to get it from Eurobasket, but they kind of ignored it. And of course, they can ignore it if you're not willing to really go do a case against them.
Yeah.
But that's where the partnership with Red Card
Yeah.
allows for more athletes across sports to really have a real good legal backing. But Huddle and stuff, we just were like, hey, what if you would want to partner with athletes first?
Yeah, just give us there should be a personal license that you can get. That's a nominal fee or free, because I know you're monetizing me or whatnot, but it should be an opt-in, opt-out for sure. Unfortunately, it's not. And those schools, high schools, colleges, subscribe to their cameras, and the cameras get the data. And then Huddle's really big on we don't buy our data from anybody else. It's all proprietary. But it's because they have these cameras and they're able to get all these different points and stuff, which is really smart that they went that way years ago, even before AI was a big thing. But it allows them to not be too reliant on any one partner that may charge them more, and then they didn't have to charge the partners more because it's subscribed to data. Because a lot of these data plays too, they're all patched together. They're never getting first party data, even on the Athlete Plus. So basically we're building a banking card for athletes, help them build their credit, and then we use their transaction data to help them with endorsements. So that's still their data. You can opt out of it. You can say, hey, I don't want Athlete Plus to know that I eat at Jimmy John's more than I eat at, Subway. But I would argue, give us that data, and then I'll go let Subway or Jimmy John's know, and then maybe they'll sign you up for an endorsement because they know you love their product. But we have to let the athletes know that at least, and they should be able to get that data if they want. Because maybe they want to do something with the data. Maybe they have their own startup, or maybe they just really just want their own data. It'd be like, I don't know why so many people do it, but with Strava and with all these workout apps, they share all the data with their friends. But really, that's what they want you to do. The more friends you have hooked into it, that you're hooked into it, the more data that the brands have coming in, and then they can build better maps. They can build better, different gamifications of it, all that kind of stuff. But it's all based off technically your data that you're licensed to them, and then you're getting a discount on the app in a way. So people always are like, how's Facebook free? Well, it's free because they know everything about you.
Yeah. But again, the other thing is with platforms like Wevolve and Athletes Plus, empower platforms that are at least using your data to continue to make your life better. Yes, we make money. Yes, we are a business. We have to find ways to monetize, but we want to use your data to make your life better, to help you actually find new ways that will help bring revenue back. And with Athlete Plus, which you can talk about it, your model actually is trying to help the athlete also gain from what they naturally do, which, as we know, social currency and stuff, no one has figured out how we monetize that as athletes. But this is one way with Athlete Plus, where it's we're already doing things from our everyday life. How do we make making money easier compared to I need to go do 3 posts and stress out about doing that when I can actually live my life and get money back? So talk a little bit about Athletes Plus and how that works.
Yeah, Athlete Plus, essentially we give the athlete a secured debit card. They are able to use it like it's a normal, banking card. They can load money to it. They can use it as a debit or credit card. 0% interest, so we're not charging you anything. It's funded by other accounts you have, so your NIL money or another account you have attached to it. And then you earn cash back on every merchant that you shop at. And then in return, you can also promote it to your fans, and the fans can support your athletic journey. So every time they swipe the card, we defer our revenue and we give it to the athlete instead, because we say, hey, you want to support Florida State athletics, go get the Florida State Athlete Plus card and choose the team or athlete you want to support, and we'll give a part of our revenue to support that athlete's journey in the form of an NIL deal. So now the fans get to be engaged, the athlete benefits from their fandom, and have a low-hanging fruit way to monetize themselves instead of chasing these little NIL deals. Just monetize your fans. Well, you have to do it automatically. And then the interesting data points, you may not realize that you love public subs down in Florida, and you go there 3 times a week, and then that could be something you could monetize. Jameis Winston was stealing crab legs from there, and he probably could have done a public. They probably still would have done a deal with him, and he's not even going about it the right way. And he's hilarious. But I literally, if you could use your data in a way like you're saying that you could monetize that helps support and your athletic journey, but not only that, monetize you as an individual, I think that's valuable. And the point that's getting missed, and something that the NCAA is not really interested in doing, or any of their partners, they're interested in how do we continue to manage the labor and keep the prices down and basically continue to monetize so that these TV contracts can keep getting bigger and bigger and they don't have to share the spread. I'll give you an example. The NFL will share 50 to 51% of its revenue with its athletes. The NCAA, even with this 21 million thing, I think it's still like less than like 15% of rev share, like overall when you look at it. So it's still not equal, like in any way. So I think it's really important for athletes to start to think about how they could monetize outside of just like promoting a product or service. And then authentically, like there's so many NIL deals out there that are like little mom and pop NIL deals, which I think is great for the local merchants and stuff. But once you post enough of those, you kind of dilute your product as an athlete, because if half your posts are marketing products or services that you perhaps don't even use, that can get annoying, on your fandom, and you're kind of, they're not going to continue to follow you. I wouldn't say they would unfollow you, but they're definitely going to be like, oh, that's a marketing thing. I don't want to see that. So, yeah.
Definitely a lot going on. Again, and here we are, much older than a lot of the athletes and been in this business a lot longer than some of the parents, and they're trying to navigate that with nothing. I know it's scary. I mean, I can kind of relate navigating sports tech as a non-technical founder.
The hardest thing you're ever going to do is be a founder. I'm telling you, it's a grind. So
so you're just kind of praying, but everything don't work with a prayer. Faith without works is dead. So it's kind of like you got to seek out that information. But before we wrap up, I want to hit you with a few, some quick hitters. The first one, if you had 30 seconds to tell a 17-year-old athlete how to protect themselves before they sign, what would you say?
First thing, like I mentioned earlier, take the time to sign. Sleep on it. Just like any important decision you're going to make, give it an extra day and see how you feel about it the next day. And then the other important part I would say is finding that mentor or advisor that you might trust to help you through that process. It's because it can be a lonely journey, and that trust process, I think, is finding somebody. So whether it's an agency you trust or a mentor, you definitely have to have somebody else involved. And like I said, it's not always best for that person to be a parent or family member. So you kind of need that outside influence. So that I would say mentors, advisors, and taking the time to actually vet, because these are important decisions that you're making. And it's hard to make them at the age of 17 or 18, but take the time. You've got all the time in the world. So, and the reality is you might go through a couple agents, but at least start with one that's going to at least, check the boxes for what you need now. And then if you end up growing out of that agent in some reason or whatever, then you open up that opportunity, but you don't want to make a bad choice that you made a snap decision. So time is definitely in your favor.
Got it. The next one, what do you wish every parent, coach, and NIL rep understood about the long-term value of an athlete?
Yes. I would say just because there's an opportunity or somebody has offered you something doesn't mean it's a good opportunity. A lot of times people are more afraid of the what if I end up with nothing versus taking what's right there in front of them. So if somebody is coming to you today and offering you something today, it's literally, if you believe in yourself and what you're doing, your value should go up. If your value goes up, that same person, if not more, are going to come to you later. So it may be hard to say no to something, but oftentimes saying no is the best thing you can do, whether that's in contract negotiations, whether that's your first NIL deal, whatever it may be. Like, I'm very surprised by how many people opted into the NCAA football game, and now they're going to do an NCAA basketball game for $600. It's like, it's literally for $600 you signed away your opportunity to earn more. And there were some smart football players that opted out and then negotiated on the back end bigger contracts. But I'd be upset if, like, I found out somebody at a similar school is getting paid $50K when I got $600 just because they said no and said, no, we're going to wait. And then they have a great season and then they opt back in. So group licensing, I think, is helpful so that you can build video games and card games or whatever the NCAA or NFL does that they want to license out to. But at the same time, enough athletes, I think, and parents don't understand your value. If you think it's going to go up, best thing you can say is no to start. And then, like I said, more opportunities will come.
That leads into the next one. And yeah, I mean, the 600 is crazy. How much? That's crazy. Anyway.
Think about the amount of hours in which somebody will play as you. Divide that by the number of hours it's played, and you're getting paid like negative pennies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes. It's literally like
you're gonna play yourself probably.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
you about to.
Well, and
no.
Would somebody that is a huge fan pay $50 to add you to the game? I would say, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Like, so
Your
negotiate that.
family alone might pay and cover that
Yeah.
cost, and then there's career mode, and again, thinking long term of your likeness is now baked into who knows what the contract was.
Yeah.
So who read the contract?
Yeah.
How long do they have your image, your biometric data, if they're gonna change, use your body like NBA 2K, like all of that. I mean, that goes into the final question: what's something athletes are giving away for free today that they'll regret tomorrow, if they even find out that they gave it away for free and start to see how it's being used in the future, that they didn't negotiate up front for it.
Two things is their likeness. With the world of AI, like, you can recreate voices and people, and it allows you to be in more than one place at a time. But I think it also allows bad actors to perhaps use your likeness that you didn't realize they were using, whether that's highlight films from your alma mater that you didn't realize they're still using. Like, knowing how long those rights last is very important. And then, like I said, knowing about the opt-outs, because not enough people ask about that. And if you don't ask, the school's definitely not going to tell you. So I would say that piece of, like, your likeness. And then we talked about kind of the motion data and stuff. People don't realize that, like, that can be your data. Like, the fact that you can run 23 miles an hour and that you dunk in a specific way. And we talked about this. We educated athletes to the Basketball Africa League. And one of the biggest things we said when we were chatting with them was talking about building their own brand and having some sort of swagger that fans and other athletes know them by, whether that's a certain way they cross over or the way they dunk, or maybe they're wearing certain glasses, things like that. Like, that's IP of you. Like, I'm not wearing a cowboy hat right now, but I mean, I'm sure if I ever created a logo of myself, or somebody was like, "Oh, have you met Mike?" They'd be like, "Oh yeah, Montana cowboy hat." Like, that's how I'm remembered. And think about that, whether it's the way you wear your sleeves or whatever it may be. The games are literally mimicking that, and that's your likeness. As much as they'll say it's not, they're literally trying to best create the version of you that the fans see. So every little thing that you do on your representation side is your likeness, and I would argue you should protect it, and they would feel bad that, like, oh, I gave that away, So, I mean, Allen Iverson with the sleeves and the headband, like, that's what I think of, like, so, like, that's his thing. So if you gave me an athlete that didn't have a name or logo but looked similar to him and had those two characteristics, I'd be like, that's AI. That's literally Allen Iverson. Like, it's my point is your likeness and how you look, I think, is something that people don't realize it can actually be IP.
Yep. Definitely. It's exciting times when you have a good deal and those things continue to grow. But also it's tough. And even AI, like, before there was AI, there was AI. There was Allen Iverson. He was the AI.
He was AI.
He can't fight that. I don't think that's a common artificial intelligence. That's a common term. So he wouldn't be able to win that war. But imagine if know who knew AI was really coming. But I thought about that the other day. Like, dang.
Yeah, imagine if AI bought a bunch of AI website domains because he was just like AI.sports, AI whatever, just because he thought it was for him, and then that would be worth a lot more. Similar to blockchain, people that bought Bitcoin, XYZ domains back in the day. There's that piece. And then my other last piece of advice is just, like, when you do get paid finally, like, you finally are like, oh, okay, cool, I got this thing coming. Put it somewhere to work where it can work for you. Find an advisor, understand taxes, things like that. I know you're going to want to, go spend it on yourself or family or whatever it may be. And I'm not saying don't treat yourself. If you're really into watches, go ahead and get yourself a watch. If you're really into XYZ, treat yourself. But, like, don't go spend that whole first check on something that is vanity, unless it's tied back, like I said, to your IP, and maybe it's something that is part of your image. Like, I would, So I love cars, but I'm not going to go. I didn't have, like, a nice car until I was in my 30s. I mean, I had cars. They got me to point A. Wait. My first thing I ever bought when Amazon paid me a bunch to go work there, and I was like, whoa, these people are paying me that, was a motorcycle. But the motorcycle was, like, still modest. I had just always wanted a motorcycle. It was something that I felt like I earned. I did it and I got it. Right. And it's something I still have today. But that was kind of my first purchase where I was like, okay, cool. I've earned it and I've worked at it. So you can aspire to have things, but I would argue that those things can all go away. So make sure you're putting it in places that, can support you in the future, because it won't last forever. And last thing you want to do is have to go ask all the people that supported you. And you're the one asking them for something now. I need a place to stay. I need money. I need whatever. You don't want to ever put yourself in that position. So if you save it all up now, you won't ever have to. So.
And if you're an athlete overseas and it's not really $1 million you're getting or half $1 million, the little things of IP could be just freaking making sure you own your website handle, your URL, or You know, those little things are looking into how you can start something small. Looking into if you create an LLC and find ways to start getting just small benefits off your career. You don't have to think of the big things like that's not for me. There are small ways you can take strategic little steps to own IP, to set yourself up for just tax, breaks by having an LLC and finding ways to get paid your salary through that. So again, sometimes we get overwhelmed in the media that the stories that they're saying are huge. Like, okay, yeah, this guy makes $1 million, but what about the person not making that and they're an athlete? What can they do?
Yeah, and I'll give you a real life example. I might get in trouble for it. We'll see. So a group that is set up to protect athletes and offer legal counsel and how to protect yourself is athletes.org. Love what they're doing. Awesome. But athletes.org does not own athletesorg.com. I just bought it. I literally bought it before this call. Like literally, like come on, people. Like you literally don't own, your logo is AO, athletes.org is your brand name. You own athletes.org, but you don't own athletesorg.com. So, I mean, if you guys want it, come and get it. But my point is that group is literally there to protect you. And they literally are not even only protecting their own IP. And I'm just going to leave it at that. But we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah. Hey, that's real. I mean, hey, right now we got Weevolve.net, Weevolve.ai, Weevolve.io. Somebody had Weevolve.com before I started. Now we about to send a cease and desist, or however you say it, and deceased, whatever. But yeah, like, hey,
somebody at Google someone at Google 2 years ago bought Google.com because it expired, and the employee bought it, and Google got it back. But my point is, like, even Google wasn't tracking that stuff. So that stuff's important. Yeah. Like it's not an end all if somebody owns your domain, and you can always change your name and evolve. Like we have Athletes Plus, which could be Athlete Plus anything. So it could be Athlete Plus Media, Athlete Plus Agency. So that's why we did that. And then as an org, we're an athletes organization that wants to support athletes. So we have Athletepreneur. That's been trademarked for 15 years. And that's also how we identify. I would argue that like our organization we want to build athletepreneurs, and people in our group identify like yourself as an athletepreneur, versus just a brand name that people wear t-shirts of. I want you to actually be what we are. So I appreciate you having me on. This has been awesome. And it's pretty cool to be sharing what you're working on,
Mike. Yeah. Hopefully we do it again soon, and have safe travels to Seattle. And then still pending my hat so I can rock out.
Yeah, come out to Montana. We'll get you a cowboy hat. And then if anybody wants to reach out, it's NFL agent MT Mike, so Montana Mike, on Instagram and all my social handles, and then Athletepreneur. But I also follow Weevolve, so if you follow them, which you should be, you'll see that we follow them as well. And happy to continue the conversation here in the future.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you coming on.
All right. Thanks, Jory. Bye.